Think insurance is boring? Think again. Many experts say that insurance is the most powerful industry on the planet. So join us and discover why the Quoters Cast is making insurance super cool. Hello and welcome to the Quoters Cast. Today, my guest is a former critical care nurse of 15 years, and he's currently an insurance agent and author. He runs a notary business with his wife and now offers courses for insurance agents to get leads at a very affordable price and also start generating them in just one day. He had a short stint as a pro wrestler, training under Steve Kerr at Florida Championship Wrestling, and he describes himself as a Renaissance man in a linebacker's body. I gotta agree. So I welcome Mark SIAS to the program today. Thanks, Mark, for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. That's it's funny to hear it coming back at you the other way. It sounds like I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up.
No, well, that's part of the reason why I was looking forward to talking to you, because you just sound like a very interesting person. I'm telling you, the kind of background that you have and all the different things that you do. And so I'm curious how you all fit this in together, because you are now running a business that seems to incorporate all these elements that you've been doing for years. You run it with your wife and you have a family. Yep. And so, how did you get to this point, and how do you seem to make it run so smoothly?
That's those are good questions. I think that probably like going into any service-based business, as with that background as a nurse, there's an advantage and a disadvantage. The disadvantage is nurses do not know anything about marketing whatsoever, and found that out quickly. But the advantage is that nurses are generally very altruistic people, and that really resonates well in those service-based industries, whether it's legal services or financial services. People can really pick up on your authenticity, and then they trust you, and then you can create these lifetime customers. You create a good network of people that keep coming back to you and keep referring you. So that is something that with my wife coming on board with me, it kind of resonated with her, is just, listen, people can be difficult, but just give them the benefit of the doubt, because you don't know when it's going to come back to you. It's going to circle back to you, but it will. And we kind of built our business based on that.
That's excellent. I love that. So what made you make the move from, you were in critical care for 15 years, which sounds kind of exhausting, and then you made the transition into insurance agent. Two very, like you said, you've got to be a very caring person to do what you did for 15 years in critical care. And even as an insurance agent, you've got to take your clients' well-being into, if you're going to be any good at it, make it paramount. So why did you shift into that?
It's crazy how that happened, because I was obviously very, very exhausted doing those long shifts, and was always trying to do some kind of a gig, I guess, and whether it was network marketing or something that just I wasn't very good at, but was always trying. And the strangest thing happened one day. A friend of mine calls me, and he's in South Florida, and he says, I'm selling health insurance and I'm doing really well at it, and I just can't help but think that this is something you would do good at. And I'm like, I don't have time for this, man. This sounds like a load of nonsense. And he's like, no, I'm making really good money doing this, and I really like what I'm doing. You should take a look at it. So as a naturally curious person, as you get at somebody who does wrestling and this and that, I'm pretty curious. You get if you plant the seed, I'll go take a look. And I looked at it and I thought, man, I see the potential here for something. And I went down. So my wife and I went down to South Florida and met him for dinner one day. And I picked his brain and asked him, show me the money, show me this is the real deal. And so from there, I just went ahead and got a license. I literally was just studying the courses on my phone, on breaks at work. And got the insurance license, and initially I started with life insurance. Even though the 215 I could do anything, I started with the life insurance because it seemed like there was really great commissions. I mean, and it seemed to me like something that uh, I think maybe for the end customer, you definitely have to sell them on it. But for me as a nurse dealing with it seemed like a no-brainer. Like, who wouldn't want this? I mean, we're all gonna die. So it seems like it seems like a gimme. So I got that license and I started selling insurance to other nurses at work that knew me and liked me. So that worked really well. I made a lot of money, and I was like, all right, I think I'm out of here. I think I'm gonna go. I think I'm just gonna go out and do this. And all was well until I started running out of people I knew. And I thought, my goodness, I actually need to know how to market this stuff. And so deep dived into it and eventually found a system that works really well for me, which was adding on other services that kind of work as a lead generation for insurance. So you can sell anything on the back end, just find out what they want to buy on the front end.
Okay, this is really good. Okay, because it sounds to me like you've sort of created a system that a lot of insurance agents really need, but have no idea how to develop. So, and I know you have a course. Can you give us sort of an overview of if somebody starts to come into your sphere and they're thinking about the course and they've started insurance? I've only been a licensed life and health insurance agent for less than a year. So, how would you advise somebody like me if I was interested?
Okay, so one of the things, obviously, you mentioned that I'm a notary, and one of the things that kind of just struck me one morning when I was waking up is that the people who are looking into health insurance or even Medicare insurance or life insurance that are kind of in that phase of their life, they are a similar avatar to the person who is looking to have their wills notarized and other FERS retirement documents notarized. So like if they come to me for this and then they like me and I've already kind of got this relationship established with them, if I wasn't selling insurance, they might even be as far as to ask me if I recommend an insurance agent. I do. I recommend me as an insurance agent. Right. Or if it's outside my scope, if it's annuities, then I do. I've set up, arrangements with other agents. But so that is kind of how that works. Is it's a I call it, like in digital marketing, they call it a tripwire offer or a hook. So my notary commissions are just it's just it's the doorway. It's like the gateway to get people to have a conversation with you. A lot of times, if they know you're an insurance agent and you just lead with that, there's a wall that goes up immediately. Just like when your friend gets into a network marketing thing and then they message you and they're like, hey, are you taking vitamins? You're like, wait, just a minute, hold up. And it may be really good stuff, but you've already kind of got a wall up. And the same thing, if I was calling somebody on the phone as a Medicare agent or a life insurance agent, they're going to be like, I've already got some quotes. I've already got this or that. But if they come to me because they need me to authenticate paperwork, then I start going, well, what are you doing with all this? And what are you doing with this? Just asking them questions. And then it's their guards down. So that's one of the processes. That's definitely one of the processes. Now you can do, when we teach just placing online ads and kind of some of the ones that work better than you might think they would work, but definitely better than buying a bunch of leads. But I've been there. I've gone broke buying leads.
Right.
So
you can. Yeah, it's easy
so
to do
that right there, I would say anybody, there's some secret sauce there. It's like, in most states, it's maybe $100 or less to get a notary commission, and use it as the tool that it is to attract people.
That's amazing. I've never heard anybody even say anything like that to help generate insurance leads, but that makes perfect sense. So
it's great. And I even have sometimes some insurance agents will come to my webpage or whatever, like, you're not an insurance agent, you're selling this course. I'm like, you need to dig deeper. I keep that stuff buried in the back. It's the back end sale.
Right. Okay, so with insurance then, it's still, digital marketing is so overwhelming. So now we've got the hook, the notary hook. And so people are wondering about a number of stuff. How often do you need to go to somebody's home? How often can you do it virtually? Do they need their own website? Do they have to use Facebook ads? All that kind of stuff. So how would somebody start to dip their toe into that?
Yes, 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 and yes. Is the right answer. As much money as you want to make, as much of that. So yes to all of the above. The how it's set, the way you put it is overwhelming. It's like, wait a minute, I got to do all this. And it's just take it one piece at a time, focus on one piece, get that working and get that asset developed. And they're not as hard as they seem, especially if somebody will walk you through the process. But I will say, like with Facebook, for example, Facebook's a monster and it requires a lot of patience and a lot of just playing around with it to see what works. I think the truth is I've got ads that an ad copy that seems to work pretty consistently, but the truth is I don't think anybody's really got it all figured out. I think we're just playing, we're just hoping this one works. Yeah. And then if it doesn't, we shut it down. And that's the trick is to think of it like that. If it doesn't work, get rid of it, try something else, but be patient with it until you find something that's going to work for you. When it comes to those paid ads, websites, yeah, you should. What I like about and this is one thing a lot of insurance agents don't do is just create your own Google listing, your own local listing. And with your local listing for insurance, by all means, add your notary service to it too, because they may not come to you for the insurance, but they may come to you for the notary, but they know in their mind that you also do this. So once they meet, I've had so many people just ask me about insurance because they're like, I see you also do insurance. And I'm like, as a matter of fact, I do. So, so it's as simple as that. That's just like a little trick to that whole Google thing. If you have a Google map listing and it can come right out and say you're an insurance agent, but that you also offer notary services, you're just going to attract people that are looking for the notary service. But you have to remember, they're in the same phase of their life as the person looking to get enrolled in Medicare, or the person who just bought a home and just had a kid, who probably is in their mind is going, yeah, I probably need to get the life insurance thing worked out too. So it's just a matter of having the conversation, and they're way more the conversation with you once they've met you and they've done transactions with you.
Right. So now I know that on your website, I noticed that you and your wife, the notary service is very mobile. So I'm wondering, do you go to people's homes and offices, or is it virtual? How does that work for you?
So it's both. So we can do online notary work. We can do virtual document services, and then we can, right from there, if there's a conversation about insurance, we go right into it. If there's not, there's not. But the great thing about that is that there's always a revenue source coming from somewhere, regardless of whatever it is. But yeah, so we do the mobile service too. Again, you'll find people that don't want to get up and go to an office, a UPS store, a bank, and they want you to come to them. And the same is same is true of insurance. There's insurance agents here in town that have their office and their customers come to them. And then there's field agents like us. And I'm basically a hybrid. And I say, why not be a hybrid if you can? If you can make that work, do it. Just schedule your day out. That's the hardest part, is meticulously scheduling your calendar for whether you've got to be somewhere or somewhere's coming to you.
Right. And I would think for notary, you probably don't get as many cancellations as you would for an insurance appointment. Is that correct?
You definitely don't, because they are usually in a position where they really need your service. And so that's not the case. And like I said, from there, you can do basically impromptu fact finding when they get there, and just find out where they are, who they know. And by all means, if they're not in the market at all, you can still hand them your card, let them know what you do, and ask them for referrals. And you'd be surprised when one comes up,
Right, exactly. So do you do a lot of relationship building, say, with lawyers and such, and so that you can get referrals from them?
Yes, absolutely. And I would say for an insurance agent, especially if you're an insurance agent who's a notary, estate attorneys, they're going to need your service. But they are also a good source of customers for your insurance, because if they're doing estate planning, what you offer is part of estate planning. So they can be a good source of that too. So there's just another a way to collaborate or network, or I call it strategic partnering. Like, hey, I'm going to send people your way that are that I've just finished insurance stuff with, and you send people you just finished the state stuff with. That we just go back and forth.
Yeah, excellent. What about CPAs as well?
Same thing. Some stuff I do is slightly competitive with CPAs. Now I do some tax preparation, but I'm mainly doing individual tax preparation, which those are actually good. That's a good avatar for your term life insurance. But CPAs are usually doing very complex stuff. So in an aspect, I do have a CPA or an enrolled agent actually that I refer a lot of people who come to me that I want tax preparation. I'm like, no, you don't need tax preparation. You need somebody who's qualified, who's not going to goof this up. And so I'll send them and vice versa. So it's another one of those persons who's in that financial service or legal service, you could even call, that makes a great networking opportunity. And one of the things is I don't really, in my mind, legal services and financial services, they mesh very well together. They are a good marriage.
Right.
So and use that and be aware of that.
Okay. So let's talk more about your course, because I think seriously, I really want to see what's going on in there. I'll probably buy it. So let's take more of a deep dive, because I'm a self-taught digital marketer. I built a number of websites myself, so I'm aware of a lot of what needs to be done. But I'm also aware of how incredibly overwhelming and how much time sometimes it can take, especially when you don't really know what you're doing. Even when you do know what you're doing, technology just doesn't always cooperate. So what are some of the first things that I would learn from you if I took your course?
Okay, so yeah, let's go through it. So the first thing, obviously, is what we just talked about. Hey, look, a notary is an easy win.
Right.
I go through the very, and I'm gonna say simplistic understanding of the sales process, just understanding kind of how you're presenting yourself as an advisor rather than somebody who's trying to get a commission. So that's very basic. So that is just kind of the how to position yourself. But so from there, I basically jump right into the digital marketing, and I divide that up between organic stuff and basically free stuff and paid stuff. Now, with organic stuff, a couple of things that I do and I recommend people should do is you should have a YouTube account. You don't have to be a YouTube star, but there's absolutely no reason in the world why you should not make a video that mentions the services you offer with your contact information. Put that thing out there, because Google loves YouTube, and YouTube will show up on Google. And if somebody is looking for words that are services that you offer, there's a good chance you're going to pop right there, and that's a freebie.
Right.
I mean, you can set up a simple. You could even do an AI generated video, which sounds scary maybe to some people, but it's really just a matter of you putting words into a program that spits out a video. Like Pictory, for example, would be a good example of that. And it makes you a video. You upload that video to YouTube. You have to be mindful, and I explained some of this, that you've got to be mindful of what are the words that I'm putting on here, that I'm telling Google, because Google loves words. What are the words I'm putting on here? Well, the words should be that service. And you can make a video for each service. If you've got final expense, if you've got Medicare, even if the brand Humana, I mean, just make a video, because once you're done with them, and that's a little tedious, but once they're up there and they're brewing, they're staying. The view count's just going to keep climbing. So if you do that, especially if you do that in a location, because Google also favors locations. So if I'm in Port Orange, Florida, and I type in life insurance and you've got a YouTube video, it's going to serve that up. Even though they were looking for life insurance, the big players are going to show up. Of course, Mutual of Omaha, all the ones that dominate the internet, but you're going to show up in there too, because Google's going to serve up local results, and that costs you nothing.
Okay, this is a really good point. So for people who don't understand what you mean by the words, Those are keywords. And what you're talking about, that whole, everything that you just said is search engine optimization, SEO. And
Yes.
and what I love about that is that it works for forever. Basically, once you get like you said, once you get that content up, it keeps attracting search engines, and it's free. And that's something that I think a lot of people don't understand. I know I'm under the conception that SEO sometimes takes quite a long time to kick in. And I'm wondering if you can speak to that, because as you say in your course, you can start generating leads the next day. So how does that work when SEO normally takes a long time?
It normally takes a long time with long form content like blogs. It doesn't take a long time if you are using long chain keywords, especially with YouTube. Google loves YouTube. So if you make a YouTube video today that is, we'll just say life insurance quotes near me, free life insurance quotes near me. You don't have to put near me, but I would do it anyway. Your phone number right in the title, so they don't even have to watch the video. That video will show up tomorrow.
Wow. Okay.
Just about certain, because Google loves YouTube. Google is YouTube. So it's always going to favor YouTube.
Right.
So the idea is, what you should think of is everything that I touch on the internet, whether it's my personal Facebook page or it's a YouTube video, make it a landing page, make a call to action, your contact info, make it, think of everything as a landing page. Every YouTube video is a landing page. Every your Facebook profile should look like a landing page. They should be able to click on your photo. And when they click on your photo, there's a URL in there. Get free quotes from me. And it drives them to, if you got a quoter, you should get a quoter. I mean, they work pretty good. But it doesn't have to, if you don't have it, just have it click to a place where they can send you an email or call you.
Right.
So that makes, because, even your Facebook page, you've got people, what I call trolls. There's people you don't know and will never know that they're trolling your Facebook page, your LinkedIn page, whatever. Make sure that they know how to get a hold of you when they do.
Okay, that's a good point. All right. So for some people, this still might sound overwhelming. Do you recommend hiring like freelancers to help, or should they learn? And if so, or if not, what are the basics that you would suggest someone learn to do it themselves?
So some of that is going to, I think, like with the YouTube thing, I think anybody could probably do it, especially if they see a tutorial on it. But so with freelancers, yes, I mean, I will hire them like off of Fiverr. I probably needs to come with a warning that don't pay anybody outside of Fiverr because your money will disappear. And keep track of who you're using, because if they don't deliver good service, don't use them again. I've used dialers on Fiverr. Like, I've hired people and given them lists and said, will you call these people? But it took a lot of frogs before I found Prince, because they were awful.
Right.
They called, they did what I asked, but their voice was just, they just weren't good at what I wanted. So I found somebody who sounded American, sounded very good, and could just set appointments for me. So.
Okay, great. So that was something that I wanted to address. You said they sounded American. So, which I think is important. I think sometimes people in the US are immediately suspicious for sales calls with somebody with an accent. So,
Yes.
Again, sourcing, because like you said, I think this is a very important point. If somebody needs help that way, and Fiverr can be iffy, I'm looking for time constraints. Do you have agencies that you use as well? Is that something that you can get from the course that you tell people about, where they can go so that they don't have to go through testing a bunch of Fiverr guys?
No, I don't. But I'm showing them everything that I do. So, as far as agencies, I've had difficulty, especially if you're talking like ad agency. Now, most SEO type agencies, they're pretty good. They do what they say. But when it comes to pay-per-click, I honestly believe nobody's going to manage that as good as you will if you'll learn to do it. I just don't think they care. I think they manage so many accounts that things are going to slip through the cracks.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. I do appreciate you saying that. And that's something I've noticed since I've been in this business. It's like, the individuals in your data are treated like, I don't know, it's just passed around. Like I'll get calls just inquiring about something, and now I get calls for months from call centers about the same thing over and over and over again. And I think it's abusive, and I think that's part of the reason why real insurance agents have such difficulty. Do you see the call center industry changing? If so, how? And if not, do you think it'll ever be eliminated or at least tamped down a little bit?
I don't think it'll be eliminated, but I think that the effectiveness of that is probably, I think it's losing its effectiveness. It's requiring more and more calls to get less results. Even though, like your state farms and stuff like my car insurance agent, he's got 4 girls there calling all day. So he's doing it still. But I also know that he has a metric ton of branding behind him, which most independent agents don't do that. So those are just little things you can pick up on. You don't need an office full of dialers if it's just you, but you do need to look at the other parts of their business model that you can incorporate it into yourself, your branding, things I call adjacent services. So is there something else that would be easy enough for you to pick up? The notary is the easiest one by all means, but are there other services that are similar that would be easy for you to pick up on and offer that would allow those people to kind of come through your door, come across your path basically naturally? Because those ones are the ones that I always say they're ready to buy. They're the ones that they don't require a lot of sales. They just require you to take an order. And that is, of course, when you talk about organic digital marketing, that is the epitome of it, because you're offering people value, and that value you offer is selling for you. Where with the phone call, it's an interruption. Now, statistically, the interruption-based things can generate way more sales statistically, but they're difficult sales. They're the churned sales, where the ones that come to you because you have a relationship, they're not going to get churned. They're going to be there. That's your high value. That's your book of business.
Right. So how long have you been doing this, since the time that you left critical care nursing into insurance agency and developing all this? How long has it taken you to do all this?
2019 is when I started. So in the year 2019, I was just doing insurance, and I did figure out how that was when I started doing paid ads, and then started experimenting with other paid ads. And then it was 2020 when I added the notary. I was like, wait a minute, I think this will be a good asset to have. And when I realized it was not only a good asset, but also a revenue source in and of itself, I kind of focused on that and kind of put the insurance on the back burner. But then I was like, well, wait a minute. Why can't you just have a cafe of services? Why can't you just make your own unique agency that is literally something nobody else is even doing? And you can.
Well, good for you. I think that's awesome. So just one last question here, because this has been a great interview, Mark. I thank you. So what has been your best experience with a client, and what has been your worst experience with an insurance client?
I mean, those are good questions. So the best experience I have, and it's not in that course, I should put it in that course, but it's in another course, but was a case study that I did of a client that came in just for something simple, a simple form to be filled out, came back to have more stuff done, came back to have more stuff done. And by the end of that couple of month period, ended up getting, excuse me.
That's okay.
He ended up getting, because he liked me and trusted me so much, he ended up deciding, and he had a financial advisor and he wasn't happy with him. He said, I want to take all this money and I want to move it into something else. And you're obviously the guy who, if you can't do it, you know how to get it done. So get it done. So that ended up being a fee sharing annuity contract with an annuity agent. And so, but when I did the case study, I was like, okay, look at this started off as like a $50 transaction and ended in a $10,000 transaction. That's why you should definitely cater to your customer, offer. That's where just a simple notary was a great. So that's the best story though. And when I tell that story, I preface this is the best one I got. Okay, this is not the daily. This isn't the daily thing. This is the best story I got. So the worst, and there's a lot. I mean, there's other ones that are good where you kind of come in and I've ended up selling the whole house insurance. Like I came in to meet one person and just sell them like a Medicare policy or a life insurance, and it turned out everybody in the house lined up to get it. That was rare, but that's happened a few times. But worst case, gosh, there's a lot of them.
Oh,
There's a lot of them. I think the most frustrating thing, I think when I first started out was I was buying leads from one of those lead sources and, paid a lot for them. And gosh, I just, so many of them were they were like non-existent people, or they were people that were extremely embittered that I had door knocked on them.
right.
And it's disheartening, especially when you're brand new and you're not used to rejection. And people and you're like, wait a minute, I paid $20 for you to be interested in this.
Exactly.
I'm trying to help you, and I'm getting berated. So I think I'll tell you the worst experience. Like now it comes to mind. Here's the absolute worst one.
Okay.
Was I had this list of T65s, turning 65, and I thought it would be. This is me experiment. I've experimented with everything, so found out what works and what doesn't work. But I thought, well, maybe if I take the people in my community and I handwrite them a letter that says I want to be your insurance agent. You're turning 65. And mailed these out. And that worked marginally well, definitely not enough to scale it up. But I got one call from a guy who was just furious that I had his information. And I'm like, sir, you've got a mailbox full of junk from Florida Hospital and everybody else. Were you calling them outrage, or were you calling the one who was actually considerate enough to write you a handwritten letter? Because I'm like, think about how this looks. But he was just, man, just the earful I got from him. I was like, man, there's a better way to do this.
Well, good for you for telling him that. I think that's excellent. So, all right. So our time is up. This has been really great, Mark. I think it's going to help a lot of people. And I know I, for one, will be checking out your course. So why don't you tell people how they can, where and how to find them?
So yeah, everywhere. So I do have a YouTube channel. It's actually called the Notary Ninja Show. So it's mostly about notary, but you can find links to all the courses I offer. I have a course landing page, which is mark-sias.micahjabi.com. Now that is the mouthful. So if you just go to legal.prepnotary.com, you will find your way to insurance, the one-day lead generation. And if you Googled one-day lead generation, you will find it. It will show right up. And that course is $97. It's just, I try to keep it like, okay, I know that's 4 leads, if
Wow.
you get 4 leads for that price. So you pay 4 leads for the price to have a good understanding of how you can get some of them organically and some of them through paid if you want to do that. And basically I break down the mindset of how the lead generation company works. Like, this is what they're doing, and this is why you get bum leads, is because they're incentivizing them on the front end, and then by the time you get to them on the back end, there's no more incentive, so they're mean to you, or they've resold the lead. And if you are the one who owns and controls that lead, and you know the source of that lead, it becomes a way more viable lead.
Right. That's excellent. I'm shocked that it's under $100 to get. So yeah, I'll be signing up. So thank you so much, Mark. I really appreciate this. And I wish you and your wife much more success. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, Mark.